August 6, 1914. The world is now officially at war. Every telegraph office hums with urgency. Every railway station groans under the weight of movement, troops, horses, artillery, endless trains of steel and smoke. Europe, once bound by trade and treaties, is now a continent in motion, turning toward its own destruction. The first week was chaos, declarations, alliances, ultimatums. Now begins the march. The second week of August marks the first true taste of organized war. In Berlin, Vienna, Paris, and London, the same sound fills the air. The rhythm of boots on cobblestones. Crowds still cheer. Bands still play. But already, the faces of mothers and wives begin to change. Smiles that no longer reach the eyes. A German schoolteacher writes in his journal, "The boys marched away singing. By nightfall, their songs were echoes down empty streets." Across Europe, the engines of war. In Germany, the Schlieffen Plan is now in full motion. The timetable, precise, relentless, dictates everything. 7 armies move west in synchronized waves, like the gears of a clock. Each regiment must reach its assigned point on time. If one falters, the entire machine could break. Trains roll day and night, 11,000 of them, carrying 2 million men toward Belgium and France. In the stations, officers with clipboards check names, issue orders, count rifles, record horses. A railway worker later recalled, "It was not like moving men, but like moving a storm." Meanwhile, France activates its own plan, Plan 17. Brightly uniformed soldiers in red trousers and blue coats march east, confident and eager. Their commanders promise that offensive spirit will overcome German numbers. But the new century is not one for bright colors or bayonet charges. The age of smoke and steel is beginning, and few realize it. Belgium, the first to burn. Belgium, small and proud, now stands in the way of an empire. King Albert I refuses the German demand to let troops pass. His reply is simple. Belgium is a nation, not road. On August 7th, the German army crosses the border near Liège. The first shots of the Western Front echo through the Ardennes. Civilians wake to the sound of artillery. Church bells are mistaken for alarms. German troops advance in perfect formation, gray columns stretching across the fields, rifles gleaming in the sun. Ahead of them, Belgian forts open fire. The defenders are outnumbered but determined. For the first time, the world sees the enormous siege guns the Germans have built, the Big Berthas. Each shell weighs nearly a ton. When they fire, the earth shakes like thunder. Walls collapse, forests splinter, and entire fortresses vanish into smoke. A Belgian lieutenant writes in his notebook, "It was not war. It was nature unchained." For days, Liège resists. When it finally falls, the world realizes something. No fortress, no wall, no castle from the old world can survive the new one. The first civilian casualties. In the villages around Liège, war comes suddenly and without warning. Families hide in cellars as shells fall. When the Germans enter, fear turns to panic. Rumors spread that Belgian civilians, the Frankfurters or free shooters, are attacking German soldiers. In retaliation, entire towns are punished. Houses are burned, hostages taken. The town of Aerschot is set on fire. In Dinant, hundreds of civilians are executed. A priest who survives writes, "They said we fired on them. We had no weapons, only prayers." The world reads these reports with disbelief. But soon, photographs confirm what words could not. Europe has entered a war without limits. The British Expeditionary Force prepares. Across the Channel, Britain is now at war for only 2 days. The British Expeditionary Force, the BEF, begins its movement toward France. Under the command of Field Marshal Sir John French, 4 infantry divisions and 1 cavalry division are assembled. They are small compared to the vast armies of Germany and France, but professional, the best trained force in Europe. Many are veterans of colonial wars in Africa and India. They wear khaki, not bright colors, and their rifles, the Lee Enfield, are faster and deadlier than most. In London, crowds line the streets to see them off. Banners wave. Bands play, but the soldiers are silent, watching the city fade behind them. Private Henry told rights to his brother. We left to cheers and flowers. But the sea was gray, and the wind cold. It felt like something was ending. On August 9th, the first transports crossed the channel under escort from destroyers. Within days, the BEF will land at Boulogne and Le Havre, their journey into history beginning. France, the spirit of the offensive. While Belgium burns and Britain moves, France commits fully to the offensive. Their belief in Elan Vital, fighting spirit, is absolute. General Joffre orders attacks into Alsace and Lorraine, hoping to reclaim the provinces lost in 1871. The first French troops enter Alsace to cheering crowds. They plant the tricolor flag, sing La Marseillaise, and believe the tide is turning. But only days later, German machine guns and artillery crush their advance. The fields are littered with red trousers and blue coats, the bright symbols of an older age. A French soldier's diary reads, "We charged through the fog. I heard nothing but the guns, saw nothing but smoke. When it cleared, my friends were gone." The reality of modern war, of machine guns, shrapnel, and high explosives begins to sink in. For the first time, France bleeds in earnest. Austria-Hungary and Serbia. Far to the southeast, another front is already raging. Austria-Hungary has begun its invasion of Serbia, the nation blamed for the assassination in Sarajevo. But the Austrians, ill-prepared and divided, meet fierce resistance. At the Battle of Ser, the Serbians fight from mountain ridges, using terrain and courage to their advantage. After 3 days, the Austrians are forced back across the Dina River. It is the first Allied victory of the war, small in scale, but great in spirit. A Serbian officer writes, "We fought for every stone. Our mountains are graveyards now, but they are ours." The first refugees. As armies move, civilians flee. Trains packed with families, wagons piled high with furniture, and carts pulled by horses fill the roads. Refugees from Belgium cross into France, exhausted, hungry, carrying what they can. French villagers give them bread and milk, but soon there are too many to feed. The roads become rivers of humanity, flowing away from the front. A journalist in Brussels notes, "It is not victory or defeat that travels these roads. It is the end of peace." Night over Europe. By August 8th, the sun sets over a continent fully at war. From the Channel to the Carpathians, the guns do not stop. Messages flash through the night, in Morse and code and silence. The lines of battle are still forming, but the outcome of the war will depend on what happens next. And in the weeks ahead, as the Germans push deeper into Belgium and France, as the British land and the French struggle to recover, the first great clash of the modern age will begin, the Battle of the Frontiers. For now, soldiers sleep in fields, their rifles beside them, unaware that the world they once knew is already gone. August 8th, 1914. The smoke of Liège still hangs over the Meuse Valley. Villages lie in ruins, their streets lined with rubble and the smell of gunpowder. The first fortress has fallen. The second is about to. Belgium's defiance has slowed the German advance, but only for days. Now, the full weight of the German army turns south, and the war's first great tragedy begins to unfold. The fortress city. Liège was not just a city. It was a symbol, built with pride after independence, ringed by 12 great forts. It was meant to stand for weeks, perhaps months, but technology had changed. The great Big Bertha guns, hauled by tractors and rail, now take aim at the forts one by one. Each shell is a monster, 800 kilograms of steel and high explosive. When fired, the recoil shakes the ground for half a mile. When it lands, concrete and steel disintegrate like dust. A Belgian gunner wrote later in his diary, "We thought our fort was unbreakable. Then came a sound like the end of the world. When we climbed to look, there was no fort left, only a crater where we had lived." For 3 days, Liège holds. Then one fort after another is silenced. By August 10th, only Fort Lanson remains, commanded by General Gerard Lehmann, a man who refuses to surrender even as the walls crack around him. Inside, 500 men wait in darkness, coughing through smoke and dust. When the ammunition chamber takes a direct hit, the explosion kills most of them instantly. Lehman is found unconscious, buried under rubble. When the Germans carry him away as a prisoner, he salutes them weakly and says, "I was commanded to defend the fortress. I have done so." Liège has fallen, but it has done what no one expected. It has delayed the German timetable by nearly a week, and that single week will change everything. The German march through Belgium. The roads of Belgium are now rivers of soldiers. Columns stretch for miles, infantry, cavalry, artillery, all moving under the relentless summer sun. Horses sweat and stumble. Men march until their feet bleed. An officer of the German First Army writes home, "We are told it will be over soon, but the land itself seems endless and full of ghosts." Villagers watch from behind shuttered windows as the gray tide passes. Some wave white flags. Others curse silently. For every act of resistance, the punishment grows harsher. The German command issues warnings against sabotage, but rumors of franctireurs, civilian snipers, spread like wildfire. Entire towns are accused of rebellion. Houses are set ablaze. Hostages are shot. The town of Ershad becomes one of the first martyrs of the war. When a German officer is killed, reportedly by accident, his troops execute the mayor, his son, and hundreds of townspeople. Days later, Louvain, a city famous for its university and medieval library, suffers the same fate. Fires consume centuries of art and books. Witnesses report soldiers laughing as the great library burns. A priest's letter from Louvain reads, "The night glowed red. The pages of 1,000 books floated above the city like burning birds." When news reaches London and Paris, the word barbarism appears in every headline. Belgium's suffering becomes propaganda, but the horror is real. Civilization, it seems, is burning with it. The world reacts. In Britain, the reports from Belgium electrify public opinion. Until now, many have viewed the war as a distant continental quarrel. Now it becomes a moral crusade. Newspapers print the faces of Belgian refugees, women and children walking barefoot down muddy roads. Churches collect donations. The government issues appeals. Recruitment offices overflow with volunteers eager to fight for poor little Belgium. A London dock worker writes in his letter home, "We'll go show the Hun what it means to trample the weak. Belgium's not big, but her heart's bigger than all Germany." The British Expeditionary Force, now arriving in France, feels the same mix of pity and fury. Their orders are to move toward Belgium as soon as possible, to link with the French and prepare to face the German storm head-on. French command the first missteps. While Belgium burns, General Joseph Joffre, commander-in-chief of the French army, believes victory can still be won through attack. He orders Plan 17 into motion, a massive offensive into Alsace and Lorraine. On August 9th, the French 1st and 2nd Armies cross the border, banners flying. Villagers cheer. Flags wave. For a brief moment, it feels like 1870 reversed. But the Germans are waiting. Their artillery, hidden in forests, opens fire with deadly precision. Machine guns scythe through the advancing lines. A French soldier later recalled, "We walked as if through rain, only it was metal that fell." By nightfall, entire regiments are gone. The French retreat in shock, their belief in offensive spirit shattered by the cold efficiency of modern weapons. The generals will not yet admit it, but the old rules of war, of courage and charge and honor, are already dead. The march toward Namur. Having taken Liège, the German armies now aim for the next fortress city, Namur. The pattern will be the same: bombardment, encirclement, annihilation. But this time, the Allies are watching. British and French scouts report the columns moving west. In hastily erected command posts, officers trace the German advance on maps. The red lines inch closer to the French frontier each day. By August 10th, the Belgians withdraw toward Antwerp, determined to fight another day. Their retreat is orderly but bitter. King Albert rides among them, exhausted yet unbroken. His speech to his troops is short. "We are not defeated, only displaced. Belgium still stands, even if we must stand upon its ashes." The Eastern Front ignites. While the West is consumed by fire, the East begins to stir. Russia, vast and slow to move, now sends its armies toward East Prussia. The first clashes near Stallupönen and Gumbinnen catch the Germans off guard. The Kaiser had promised that Russia would take months to mobilize. Yet here they are, within days. This forces Germany to divert troops eastward, unintentionally weakening its western offensive, a small but crucial moment. In a letter to Berlin, a general warns, "We cannot fight the world on two fronts forever. Every train that goes east steals a victory from the west." Civilians and refugees. In towns near Brussels, thousands flee on foot. Entire families carry what they can, bedding, pots, photos, while soldiers march past. A young woman from Mechelen wrote in her journal, "We walked for 3 days. Behind us, the sky glowed red. Ahead, no one would take us in, for every house feared the next bombardment." The human cost of war has only begun. Already, thousands are displaced. The first refugees of the 20th century's darkest age. The diplomats' silence. In London and Paris, diplomats still speak of negotiations. Messages cross the Atlantic, from Washington, from Rome, urging compromise, ceasefire, restraint. But no one listens. The machinery of war has been set in motion, and it will not stop until it devours everything in its path. A British official noted in his diary, "We speak of peace, but all the trains still run east." Closing narration. The world watches. Some in horror, some in pride, most in disbelief. The war that began with an assassin's bullet now consumes empires. And as soldiers dig in and nations bleed, a new kind of conflict begins to take shape. One that will define the century to come. This is no longer a clash of armies. It is the birth of total war. August 11th, 1914. The fog of war has lifted just enough for Europe to see the shape of what is coming. The German armies, 7 in number, now roll through Belgium like thunderclouds. Their boots strike the roads in endless rhythm, 1 million men moving as one machine. The French armies move north to meet them, believing they can strike before the enemy fully deploys. The British Expeditionary Force has landed at Boulogne, small but professional, and begins its march toward Belgium, somewhere between the Meuse and the Ardennes. The world's most powerful armies are about to collide. A French officer writes in his diary, "We march not toward battle, but toward the unknown. The maps end where the smoke begins." The French offensive. For General Joseph Joffre, commander of the French forces, the plan remains the same: attack, no matter the cost. He believes that the German army's strength lies in its right wing, sweeping through Belgium, but that its center, advancing through the Ardennes, is weaker. If France can strike hard enough there, the Germans will falter. So he orders the 3rd and 4th armies forward, across forests, rivers, and ridges where few have fought before. The soldiers go with courage, but without knowledge. Their bright uniforms make them targets. Their commanders still think in 19th century terms. When the first French columns enter the Ardennes on August 11th, they expect scattered resistance. Instead, they find an army twice their size, armed with machine guns and heavy artillery. A survivor of the 132nd Infantry wrote later, "We marched through mist. Then came a light, not sunlight but fire. Men fell before we even saw the enemy." The Battle of the Ardennes has begun. The sound of modern war. The Ardennes is no open battlefield. It is a maze of wooded hills and deep valleys. Visibility is poor, communication slower still. Orders arrive hours late, sometimes never. Units stumble into ambushes. Artillery shells, guided by observation balloons, rain down from unseen heights. For the first time, men hear the strange new voice of the modern battlefield. The stuttering roar of the machine gun, the shriek of shrapnel bursting overhead, the thunder of artillery that never stops. A French lieutenant describes it. The air itself seemed alive. You could feel death moving before you saw it. Entire battalions vanish in minutes. Commanders, still on horseback, try to rally their men, but horses die faster than men now. At night, the forest glows red with fires. The cries of the wounded echo between the trees. By dawn, only the crows remain. Germany's precision and power. On the German side, the advance is relentless and precise. Every move has been planned years in advance under the Schlieffen Plan, a strategy designed to crush France quickly before turning east to face Russia. Railroads feed the front like arteries. Telegraph lines hum with constant updates. Every officer knows his timetable. The soldiers are tired but disciplined. They sing as they march, their songs echoing across the valleys like iron hymns. A Bavarian corporal, a young man named Adolf Hitler, serving as a dispatch runner, writes home. The pace is brutal, but the fatherland expects no less. Few notice him, just one soldier among millions. But his path through this war will change the next. Belgium's last stand. Behind the German front, Belgium continues to resist. King Albert has withdrawn to Antwerp, fortifying the city with what remains of his army. Civilians dig trenches, carry ammunition, and nurse the wounded. The Belgian capital, Brussels, has fallen, but the spirit of resistance still burns. A nurse named Marie Dupont writes in her diary, "The soldiers sleep only in pieces, an hour here, a minute there. They are so young. I wash their faces and see children beneath the mud." In London and Paris, newspapers carry her words. They become symbols of courage, of a small nation defying an empire. But courage alone cannot stop the storm. By August 12th, German siege guns are already rolling toward Namur. And soon, Antwerp will be next. The British Expeditionary Force moves. Across northern France, the British Expeditionary Force, the BEF, begins its long march toward Belgium. The first troops landed at Boulogne and Le Havre just days before. Now, under a blistering sun, they move east by train and on foot. The soldiers are quiet, methodical. Veterans of colonial wars in Africa and India, experienced but unprepared for what lies ahead. They wear khaki, carry Lee-Enfield rifles, and trust in their training above all else. Field Marshal Sir John French, the commander, rides among them in a black car, his face grim but composed. He writes in his journal, "The men are steady. They do not yet know what they face, but neither do they fear it." By August 13th, the BEF reaches the outskirts of Mons, a quiet mining town in Belgium, a place that will soon become their baptism of fire. The Battle of the Frontiers begins. The name Battle of the Frontiers will later be given to a series of clashes. Ardennes, Lorraine, Charleroi, and Mons, each fought in the same spirit of bravery and confusion. It is not one battle, but many, a collision of millions of men over hundreds of miles, each fighting for ground, for orders, for survival. In the south, near Mulhouse, French forces briefly retake the city, only to lose it again 2 days later. In the center, near Neufchâteau, the forests are littered with bodies. The wounded crawl for days before being found. And in the north, the Germans push relentlessly toward the Meuse River, hoping to cross before the Allies can regroup. The rivers of France and Belgium are no longer just landmarks. They are lifelines. Whichever side controls them controls the next stage of the war. The letters from the dead. As the fighting intensifies, letters flood home. Some are full of pride. Others carry the weight of foreboding. From a French corporal, "If you read this, it means the postman has done what I could not. Reach home. Tell mother that I died facing east, where the sun rises." From a German private, "The French do not run. They die standing. It is not what we were told." From a Belgian villager, "The night smells of powder. I cannot tell if the sky glows from dawn or fire." Censors review every line before it leaves the front, but enough truth slips through to paint a grim picture. In cafes and markets across Europe, families read these letters aloud in silence. The illusion of a quick war is gone. Night over the Meuse. As August 13th fades into night, the guns fall silent only briefly. The Meuse River glimmers under moonlight, its waters reflecting fires from the far shore. Both sides dig shallow trenches, not yet realizing that these ditches will soon stretch across the continent. A French captain writes by candlelight, "The earth is soft here. We dig to stay alive. But I wonder if we will ever stop digging. Somewhere in the distance, a bugle sounds, faint, uncertain. It is not a call to charge, but a reminder that dawn is only hours away. Closing narration. Week 2 of the Great War ends with Europe in motion. Millions of men still marching. Millions of hearts still believing. The German machine advances. The French bleed. The British arrive. The first great clash, the Battle of the Frontiers, has begun, but the world has not yet seen its true horror. In the next days, as the guns turn toward the rivers of Sambre and Meuse, the dream of a swift victory will drown in its own blood. Europe is awake, not with hope, but with fire. What began as a murder in Sarajevo has now spread like a storm. Across the continent, millions are on the move, trains packed with soldiers, stations crowded with families waving goodbye. The sound of steam engines and military bands drowns out everything else. Flags rise over cities. Posters go up on walls. Your country needs you. Every border is closing. Every heart is opening to fear, to pride, to duty. In Berlin, Vienna, Paris, London, the same words echo. It will be over by Christmas. But those who say it do not yet understand what kind of war has begun. The machinery of mobilization. The great powers of Europe have unleashed forces too vast to control. In Germany, the mobilization plan, perfected over decades, unfolds with ruthless precision. Railway timetables dictate the rhythm of war. Every regiment has a schedule, every station a destination. Trains depart every 10 minutes, carrying men, horses, and artillery to the western frontier. Posters declare God Almighty UNS, God with us. Crowds cheer as the trains pull away, but behind the cheers lies anxiety. Families cling to one another in tears, uncertain if they will ever meet again. In the words of a German mother from Cologne, they told us our sons would march through Belgium and into Paris in a month. I waved until I could no longer see the train. I did not wave again for 4 years. Meanwhile, in France, mobilization is chaos wrapped in courage. The nation remembers 1870, the Franco-Prussian War, and burns for revenge. General Joseph Joffre, calm but determined, stands at the head of it all. His orders are clear. Every man to his post, every regiment to the frontier. Railroads clog with trains packed to bursting. Paris becomes a hive of uniforms, blue coats, red trousers, gold buttons gleaming in the sun. Every street corner hosts a brass band. Women throw flowers, men sing La Marseillaise. Yet beneath the patriotic noise, unease spreads. The soldiers march with smiles, but they are heading into a new kind of war, one no one has ever seen before. The oath of the empire. Farther east, the Austro-Hungarian Empire burns with vengeance. Serbia, small, defiant, has already been invaded. The Austrians cross the Dina River, expecting an easy victory. Instead, they find mountains, rain, and rifles waiting for them. Serbian farmers, priests, and students fight with the ferocity born of survival. A Hungarian officer writes in his diary, "We are not marching through a country. We are marching through a graveyard of empires." The rivers of the Balkans run red, and the echoes of gunfire climb into the Carpathians. It is a war of mud and blood, of ambushes and revenge. And though Vienna claims victory, its armies are already bleeding, a wound that will never truly heal. The Western Front awakens. On August 6th, the German right wing, 7 armies strong, surges forward. Their first objective, Belgium. The Belgian army, small but proud, has fortified its borders with courage and concrete. At Liège, 12 massive forts guard the Meuse River, their guns aimed at the crossings. The German commanders believe they can break through in 2 days. It takes 11. The first waves of German infantry march confidently into the mist and vanish. Machine guns, hidden in concrete bunkers, open fire. Entire companies fall before they see the enemy. A German survivor recalls, "The noise was like tearing cloth, endless, merciless. We had never heard anything like it. We had trained for years, but no one trained us for this." Liège becomes the first true test of the modern age, a city of steel and smoke. The thunder of artillery shakes the cobblestones. Civilians hide in cellars, praying as shells scream overhead. But Germany has prepared for this. They bring up their secret weapon, the Big Bertha, a howitzer so vast it takes 100 men to move. Its shells, each weighing nearly a ton, arc high over the city and crash into the forts with earth-shaking force. Fort after fort falls. Belgium's defense, though valiant, begins to crumble. By August 7th, Liège burns. The sky is black with ash. Thousands lie dead, German, Belgian, civilian alike. A Belgian officer writes in his final note before being captured, "We are beaten, yes. But if the world remembers that we resisted, then we have won something greater than victory." The British decision. While Belgium burns, across the English Channel, the debate in London ends. The British government, reluctant but resolute, declares war on Germany. The decision is made not only for treaties, but for fear. Fear of a German-dominated Europe. When the ultimatum to respect Belgian neutrality is ignored, Britain acts. Crowds gather outside Buckingham Palace. King George V addresses his people. "I have sent my armies to war, not for conquest, but for honor." The British Expeditionary Force, the BEF, begins to form. Just 4 infantry divisions and 1 cavalry. Small compared to the Continental armies, but elite, professional, disciplined. They are veterans of empire. Men who fought in Africa, India, and South Africa. Now they prepare to face the might of Germany. In the ports of Southampton and Dover, ships load day and night. Men march aboard singing, their rifles gleaming under the lamps. They leave behind fog and rain, bound for a sunlit France they barely know. A British private writes home. "The band played as we sailed out. I looked back and saw the cliffs of Dover fade into gray. I wonder if we shall ever see them again." The march of millions. Across Europe, the sound of war becomes a symphony of movement. Trains clatter over iron bridges. Horses snort in the cold dawn. Boots echo in cobblestone towns. Every road carries men toward the front. The German columns stretch for miles, endless gray waves of steel helmets and bayonets. Their discipline is uncanny. Every regiment knows its place, every man his task. At night, they camp in fields under strict silence, their fires hidden, their officers vigilant. Above them, the stars are the same stars shining over Paris and London, but no one looks at them now. In France, the mood is different. The soldiers sing as they march, "On les aura." We'll get them. Villagers line the roads to hand them bread, wine, and flowers. Children run alongside, waving tricolor flags. The soldiers wave back, laughing, their faces bright with optimism. They do not know that half of them will never see their homes again. A French priest blesses the departing men. "Go, my sons. May God march with you." And a soldier whispers to his friend. The fall of Liège. Back in Belgium, the battle reaches its climax. Fort Lanson, the last stronghold, still holds out after days of bombardment. Its commander, General Lehmann, refuses to surrender. On the morning of August 7th, the Germans unleash their full artillery fury. Big Bertha fires again and again, its shells obliterating concrete, stone, and steel. At 5 p.m., one shell finds the fort's ammunition magazine. The explosion is catastrophic. A column of smoke and fire rises 1,000 feet high. Fort Lanson is gone. When German troops finally enter the ruins, they find General Lehmann unconscious, wounded, but alive. They treat him with respect, an enemy who fought with honor. He tells them weakly, "I was commanded to defend Liège, not to surrender it." The fall of Liège shocks the world. For the first time, people understand that this will not be a short war. Belgium's heroism buys the Allies precious time, time that will soon mean everything. Europe wakes to smoke and fire. The first week of war has already reshaped the continent. From the hills of the Ardennes to the streets of Liège, the thunder of modern artillery and the staccato rattle of machine guns have announced a new age of warfare. Yet for millions of men, the true scale of what is coming remains invisible. They march, they fight, they die, driven by duty, fear, and the fragile hope that the sun will rise on another day. Belgium, once a neutral sanctuary, has become the crucible of the Great War. Belgium holds, but falters. By the morning of August 12th, German columns have poured through the shattered forts of Liège. The road to Namur, the next fortified Belgian city, is now open. King Albert and his generals fortify positions along the Meuse. They know that Namur is the gateway to Antwerp, and Antwerp is the last bastion of national pride. But morale is strained. Food runs short, ammunition even shorter. Civilians who survived the bombardments of Liège now dig trenches and carry water to soldiers who have marched for days with little rest. Marie Dupont, a nurse in Namur, writes in her diary, "The men arrive in waves, faces streaked with mud and blood. Their eyes are hollow, yet their hands clutch rifles as if they are talismans. I give them soup and bread. Some smile, others do not. And when the night comes, they sleep sitting up, leaning on their brothers, whispering prayers we cannot hear." Her words, smuggled to London newspapers, become a symbol of Belgian endurance, a small nation trying to resist the tide of Europe's largest army. The German advance. The Germans, meanwhile, push forward with relentless precision. The Schlieffen Plan, years in the making, begins to reveal its logic. A rapid sweep through Belgium to encircle the French forces, forcing Paris to surrender before the Russian army can fully mobilize. Railroads feed the front like arteries. Every division, regiment, and battalion moves according to strict timetables. German commanders, disciplined and confident, treat each setback as temporary. At Dinant, the German vanguard encounters Belgian resistance, and the clash is brutal. Civilians flee, but the artillery spares few. Buildings collapse. Horses scream. Soldiers fall in silence. A German corporal writes home, "We move like shadows, silent but deadly. The men are disciplined, but even the strongest cannot escape the weight of this war. We advance, yes, but at what cost?" French forces rearrange. Across the border in France, General Joffre adjusts his plans in response to the German advance. The Third and Fourth Armies, marching into the Ardennes, have met fierce resistance over the past few days. Their bright uniforms make them easy targets for German artillery. Commanders still rely on outdated notions of linear warfare. Reports of missing battalions, shattered companies, and overwhelmed field hospitals reach headquarters. The reality is grim. This is no short war of decisive charges. This is attrition, chaos, and uncertainty. A French officer notes in his diary, "We are not fighting men, we are fighting shadows. Every ridge hides a gun, every copse a trap. Our maps end, and the unknown begins." The Battle of Namur begins. On August 12th, German artillery begins its bombardment of Namur. The Belgian forts, though fewer in number than Liège, are formidable. Massive concrete bunkers bristle with cannons. Observation towers watch the rivers. The soldiers within are exhausted but resolute, determined to delay the German advance. The bombardment begins at dawn. Shells arc over the city and smash into walls and earthworks. Inside, soldiers cling to their posts as the world shakes around them. A Belgian lieutenant writes, "We have been given a task to hold, to resist, to buy time. And yet, the earth trembles beneath us, as if it knows we will not survive this day." By evening, smoke rises from multiple forts. Some have been reduced to rubble, others still stand. The civilians of Namur evacuate where they can, carrying what belongings survive. Every street, every alleyway, becomes a potential battlefield. British Expeditionary Force approaches. Meanwhile, the British Expeditionary Force, small, professional, and well-trained, continues its march toward Belgium. The first divisions reach Mons, a quiet industrial town in western Belgium. The soldiers are alert, scanning the horizon for signs of the enemy. Though experienced in colonial campaigns, they have never faced the firepower of continental armies. Field Marshal Sir John French rides along the column in a Blackstaff car, observing the men. They march steadily. They do not yet know what awaits them, but I trust their discipline will see them through. The BEF's presence in Belgium is intended not only to support the French, but to protect the Belgian population. Their arrival signals to the world that Britain is now fully committed. Letters from the front. By August 12th, letters reach Paris, London, and Berlin with accounts of the unfolding chaos. From a Belgian soldier. The forts are crumbling, yet we fight. The streets are filled with smoke. Our brothers fallen beside us. We do not know if tomorrow will come, but we rise each day regardless. From a French private. The Ardennes are alive with fire. Every step is danger, every hill hides a gun. I see men die before I see the enemy, and yet I march on. From a German engineer. The bridges of the Meuse will not hold long. The army moves with precision, but the earth itself resists us. Still, orders are orders, and we march. These letters, censored but leaking truth, begin to paint a picture that no propaganda can hide. This war will be long, brutal, and transformative. Modern warfare revealed. The fighting at Namur and along the Belgian roads demonstrates the brutal reality of modern warfare. Gone are the days of clean, decisive cavalry charges. Gone are the notions that victory can be achieved with sheer courage alone. Machine guns mow down advancing columns. Artillery shells, guided by observation balloons, rain destruction from above. Barbed wire, trenches, and fortifications multiply the dangers of each footstep. A French sergeant reflects, "We are learning too late that war has changed. It is no longer men against men, but men against machines, men against fire, men against the ground itself." Civilian experience. Amid the fighting, the civilians of Belgium endure unspeakable hardships. Families flee burning towns, carrying children and elderly relatives. Farmers abandon fields, hoping their homes are not next. Nurses and priests provide what aid they can, often at the risk of their lives. Marie Dupont continues her work. "Every day I wash faces streaked with blood and mud. Every day I see children who have become men too soon. I pray that someone somewhere remembers our sacrifice." The destruction of libraries, homes, and cathedrals will leave scars for generations. Yet, the stories of courage, small acts of defiance, and human endurance persist. Closing narration. By the end of August 12th, the world sees a stark truth. Germany's advance is precise and terrifying. Belgium resists with courage, but its cities burn. The French and British forces are on the move, marching into a war they barely understand. The illusion of a swift victory is gone. Europe is aflame, and the march to the front has only just begun. Tomorrow, the Battle of Charleroi and the rivers of southern Belgium will test the resolve of every soldier. The first true tests of strategy, courage, and human endurance await. August 13th, 1914. The Meuse River flows quietly, indifferent to the armies that gather on its banks. Its waters reflect the smoke rising from distant Belgian towns. Above, the sky is pale blue, but the earth beneath it trembles with the movement of millions of men. Europe has entered its first week of total war. The German advance through Belgium has been swift and precise. The French and British forces are in motion, but their path leads directly into the teeth of the German machine. For the first time, the clash of industrialized armies will be total, visible, and devastating. The Meuse, a natural barrier. The Meuse River, winding through the Belgian countryside, is both obstacle and lifeline. French commanders understand its strategic value. If the Germans cross it, the road to Charleroi and Namur, and ultimately to France itself, lies open. If the Allies can hold, they may blunt the German momentum. General Joffre orders the French Fifth Army to positions along the river. Infantry march through forests, rivers, and villages, their boots sinking into mud, their rifles ready. But the Germans are not idle. Their artillery lines stretch across the countryside, supported by trains, supply depots, and engineers. Observation balloons hover overhead, relaying every movement to headquarters. For the soldiers on both sides, the Meuse is no longer a river. It is a line between life and death. French soldiers face modern fire. As the French Fifth Army positions along the Meuse, the first volleys of modern fire begin. Machine guns rattle like steel thunder, cutting down advancing lines. Artillery shells scream overhead, bursting into deadly clouds of metal. Entire companies vanish before they reach the riverbanks. A young French lieutenant writes, "We advance, we retreat, we advance again. The men are brave, yet the earth seems to conspire against us. I have never seen death so precise, so mechanical." This is no longer war as they imagined, not bright uniforms and bayonet charges, but mud, smoke, and a cacophony of destruction. German precision. Across the river, the German First and Second Armies execute their Schlieffen Plan with ruthless efficiency. Their movements are coordinated by telegraph, signal flags, and rigid schedules. Every officer knows his timetable. Every soldier knows his place. The German machine is disciplined, unrelenting, and terrifyingly effective. A German soldier, writing to his mother, notes, "The river is wide, the opposition fierce. Yet we advance as if the earth itself moves beneath us. Every step costs, but orders are orders." Among these men is a Bavarian corporal, Adolf Hitler. He runs messages through artillery positions, witnessing courage and carnage alike. For now, he is a messenger, a witness to the early flames of a war that will reshape Europe. Civilians caught in the crossfire. The villages along the Meuse, small, peaceful, and centuries old, become unwilling participants in the conflict. Families flee with what they can carry. Barns, homes, and churches are destroyed as the armies pass. Fires illuminate the night as thousands of civilians seek shelter, praying that the guns will miss them. A Belgian farmer writes, "We abandoned our homes, our animals, our lives. Smoke rises in every direction. We walk through the countryside like ghosts, hoping the rivers hide us." The human toll begins to mount. Every step of the march leaves destruction in its wake, and every soldier carries the weight of witnessing it. The first clashes of the frontiers. By midday, German and French forces meet along the outskirts of Charleroi. Skirmishes erupt in villages, forests, and open fields. The sound of rifles, machine guns, and artillery blends into a constant roar. The French advance, hoping to strike the German center, but the Germans are prepared. Entire battalions disappear into forests, cut down by unseen fire. Commanders struggle to coordinate under conditions that no map, no order, no plan can truly control. A French sergeant recalls, "We ran through the woods, shouting orders no one could hear. Men fell beside us, some screaming, others silent. We had never fought like this. It was not war, it was annihilation." British Expeditionary Force at Mons. Further north, the British Expeditionary Force reaches Mons, encountering the German First Army. The soldiers are veterans, disciplined, calm, professional. Their Lee-Enfield rifles fire accurately. Their artillery supports each advance. Yet the scale of the German numbers overwhelms them. The BEF fights bravely, holding the line, but every position is contested. A private in the BEF writes, "We are few, they are many, and yet we hold. The enemy comes with strength, but we have courage. Still, I wonder how long courage can stand against the tide." The town of Mons will soon be synonymous with determination, the first baptism by fire for the commanders on all sides struggle with information. Telegrams arrive late or never. Units are lost in forests, rivers, and hills. The front moves faster than reports can travel. A French staff officer notes, "We fight ghosts. By the time we locate the enemy, they have already moved, and our orders have become irrelevant." The chaos of early modern warfare is revealed. Technology has accelerated killing, but communication remains slow. Maps, schedules, and plans are no match for rivers, forests, and artillery. Letters from the dead and dying. By August 13th, letters arrive from soldiers and civilians alike. From a French corporal, "If you read this, it means the postman has done what I could not. Reach home. Tell mother I died facing east, where the sun rises." From a German private, "The French do not run. They die standing. It is not what we were told." From a Belgian villager, "The night smells of powder. I cannot tell if the sky glows from dawn or fire." The truth seeps through the words, a grim prelude to the horrors still to come. Belgium's resistance continues. Despite overwhelming odds, Belgian forces continue to fight. King Albert has fortified Antwerp, and Namur is still defended. Every delay matters, buying time for the French and British forces to mobilize. Marie Dupont writes, "The men sleep only in pieces, an hour here, a minute there. They are so young. I wash their faces and see children beneath the mud." The courage of a small nation contrasts sharply with the industrialized might of Germany, yet reminds Europe that honor and resistance are not measured in numbers alone. Night falls over the Meuse. As August 13th ends, the Meuse glimmers under moonlight. Both sides dig shallow trenches. The cries of the wounded echo through the hills. Fires from distant towns illuminate the night. A French captain writes, "The earth is soft here. We dig to stay alive, but I wonder if we will ever stop digging." Somewhere in the distance, a bugle sounds faintly, not a call to charge, but a reminder that dawn is only hours away. The first major collisions of the frontiers are complete. Europe has entered a new era of war, fast, mechanized, and unforgiving. Closing narration. Week 2 of the Great War closes with Europe in motion. German forces advance with precision and power. Belgian towns burn, but their resistance buys precious time. French and British soldiers march toward the front, unaware of the scale of what awaits. The Battle of the Frontiers has begun in earnest, and yet the world has not yet seen its true horror. The rivers of the Meuse and Sambre will soon become the stage for mass destruction. The dream of a swift, glorious victory is fading, replaced by mud, blood, and smoke. As the sun sets over Europe on August 13th, 1914, the second week of the Great War draws to a grim close. The Meuse, the Ardennes, the streets of Liège and Namur, all have witnessed the first thunder of modern battle. Millions of soldiers have marched, fired, and fallen. Cities burn, forests echo with artillery, and rivers carry the reflection of smoke and fire. The illusion of a quick, decisive war has vanished. Europe is no longer a continent of peace, culture, and diplomacy. It is a continent at war. The German armies continue their disciplined advance, precise and merciless. French and Belgian forces bleed, resist, and retreat, buying time with every sacrifice. The British Expeditionary Force, small but professional, has arrived and braces for its first tests. Letters arrive from the front lines, stories of courage, horror, and the human cost of industrialized war. Entire battalions have vanished. Civilians have fled, fought, and suffered. The world is beginning to see the shape of the catastrophe to come. Europe is in flames, and the march to the front has only just begun. Transition to viewer message. As the camera pans across rivers, forests, and smoke-filled towns, the narrator's voice softens. Week 2 ends here, with Europe in motion, and the world forever changed. But the story is far from over. Join us next time as we follow the armies deeper into battle, where courage, strategy, and tragedy collide. Thank you and subscribe. Fade to black, then simple text appears on screen. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to stay updated on our next episodes as we continue the march to the front. Soft, somber music plays, echoing the solemnity of the war while the text fades.